One more time. Happy Monday. Who had a good Monday so far? By a show of hands, unless you have a frozen shoulder, way high. You don't have a frozen shoulder, way high. Here we go. That's better. This guy here is just like, just a little bit. Let's do a little bit of exercise before we start. Yes? Okay, you guys are doing great. Everybody's ready? Everybody's got notes? Don't have notes? Taking notes? Might want to take notes. Yeah. This lady there, she's got like her brain is full. She can just download into your piece of paper there. It might not be right, but she'll download. She'll download something. She'll ask you lots of questions. Okay. We're ready? Everybody's ready? Selah? Were you forced to come here tonight or what? Maybe. Yeah? See, she tried to bring her kids. They told her no, and she's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go out by myself. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to have fun. Is that okay? Can we do that? How many of you here never been to class, to one of our class? How many of you? By show of hands. Wow, lots of you. How many of you here have never met before? By show of hands. They're like, we've never met. We've never met. We have never met with you. How many of you? Just a few of you? Oh, great. Great. Just don't talk to the people that haven't seen me before, because that might not be good. Okay? I want you to watch this here. It's only a few minutes. We're going to turn down the lights a little bit, and then we're going to start hitting the ground running real fast. Is that fair? I have a lot to cover. I'm not sure how much I'm going to cover, but I'll make sure you guys get what you need. Let's do it.
Don't let the old man in. I wanna live this alone. Can't leave it up to him. He's knocking on my door. And I knew all of my life that someday it would end. Get up and go outside. Don't let the old man in. Many months I have lived. My body's withered and worn. Ask yourself, how would you be if you didn't know the day you were born? Try to love on your wife and stay close to your friends. Toast each sundown with wine. Don't let the old man in. Many moons I have lived. My body's withered and worn. Ask yourself, how would you be if you didn't know the day you were born? When he rides up on his horse and you feel that cold bitter wind, look out your window and smile. Don't let the old man in. Look out your window and smile. Don't let the old man in.
How many of you here? That was not part of the lecture. Not part of the lecture. Are we planning on turning this off here soon or what? So how many of you here know or remember who sang that song? Not this, the one that we first started with. Who was that? Right, when Toby Keith passed away, well, number one is I like that song because Don't Let the Old Man In, that kind of like resonate with me, because I'm getting old. I mean, not her, but, some of us here were just like, oh yeah, don't let the old man in. Or maybe you feel that way. When Toby Keith passed away, he was worth $400 million. Would you say that's a lot of money? Would you agree with that? How many of you here, if I were to, how many of you would like to trade places with him tonight? Once in a while, there's one person, they don't know what I'm talking about. They raise their hand, they're like, me. Because all they heard is a $400 million. I'm like, he's dead. They're like, oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I'm like, put your phone away. Right? So in the next hour here together, the reason why I'm showing you this is because would that be fair to say, before I go any further, would that be fair to say that if a person don't have their health, their ability to provide for themselves or their family would be affected? Would that be fair to say that? Would that also be fair to say that in the next 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years of life, whatever you have left, right, that if you don't have your health, it's going to be hard. Whatever bucket list that you have, it's going to be hard for you to make this happen. Would you agree with that? Right? And that's the reason why we're here tonight is I'm going to tell you a little bit about probably what you were attracted. You come here, you're like, Dr. Jean-Guy will talk about inflammation, whatever that means. And I will talk to you about that. However, right, inflammation is like a subset, a subpart of really what I feel is important in life is if you don't have your health, you have nothing. Right? So I like to give you the big picture of that as we go along. You guys okay with that? Right? So over the next hour, together, maybe 60 minutes or so, maybe longer, if you're really paying attention and you're not falling asleep on me, right? The objective here is for you to discover the most powerful, the most natural, the most effective way to be healthy and to stay healthy while preventing, right, the deadly effect of chronic illnesses. So I just want to give you a few numbers here before we start tonight. I like numbers. Some of you might not like numbers, and that's okay. Just plug your ears, but I want to give you a few numbers. There's like a short of 1 million people, 944,000 people, depending who you talk to, which statistics that you get, but pretty close. Short of 1 million people died every year from heart disease and cancer. Not from heart disease and cancer, but just from heart disease and stroke. You follow me? Short of 1 million people, year after year after year. There's 600,000 people that die from heart disease, from cancer. Right? I'm messing up those two stats here tonight, but 600,000 people die from cancer every year, year after year after year after year. And there's another 1.7 million people that are being diagnosed with cancer every year. That's a lot of people. Would you agree with that? There's 38 million people that have diabetes, 38 million people that are diabetes. There's another 98 millions that are pre-diabetic. The reason why they don't know is because they haven't been to the doctor, or if they have been to the doctor, they've just been ignoring it and they're just continuing on the path that they're on. You follow me? Right? There's over 75% of this country, probably close to 80% now, that are considered to be overweight, right? And over 40, somewhere in the neighborhood of 40% now that are considered to be obese. And everything that I just said so far, if people like all of this here, that all of those chronic illnesses, they're all connected to inflammation. All of them, with no exception. I could take like 100 diseases right now that are chronic illnesses, all the way from neurodegenerative disease, Alzheimer, dementia, Parkinson, all the brain stuff that people are worried about, losing their melon upstairs. And then you go down the list from heart disease, from cancer, from diabetes. All of them, with no exception, they're all linked to inflammation. So fortunately for you, except for this young lady right here, 'cause she was forced to be here, but fortunately for you, right, you're sitting here tonight, and I'm telling you that it's probably one of the most powerful topic that there is, if you truly understand it, but not just to understand it. If you've been here before, and some of you haven't, I like to tell people that information without action, right, it's not going to take you real far. Some of you have been here 10 times already, and good for you. You might be like, I know exactly what he's going to say, and you probably heard me before. But the better question would be like, hey, what am I going to do with it this time? Right? What am I going to do with it this time? So if we leave this place here tonight the same way as you came in, then I will have failed. So my goal for you, before I'm just preparing you, I'm just prepping you here, priming the pump, to make sure that by the time we leave that you have like a better understanding of like what this inflammation is all about, what does that do, and what do you need to do by the time you leave to get to your next step, whatever next step is for you. And I promise you, you all have a next step. We all have a next step. The only time that there's no next step is when you're dead, right? So, are we ready to go? You're supposed to say yes. One more time. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. I just can't wait. Sometimes here I get excited, and I'm not going to tell you why I get excited. Some of you heard this before, but I just get excited because I'm excited about what I do. I've been in practice for 26 years now, right? I've been married to my wife for 27, 28 years. We have 5 kids, 8 grandkids. We got 2 offices. We have lots of people working with us. I love what I do, and I love to take care of people. Right? People always asking me, when are you going to retire? It's I don't know. I haven't thought of it. I probably just going to die over a patient. Right? So when you hear this, like Dr. Jean-Guy is angry, I'm not angry. I'm just excited. We might mix that up. Right? But I'm truly like, I love what I do. I love to take care of people, and I love to change people's life however I can do that. Right? So I just want you to, I'm just pre-framing you a little bit. So you don't get surprised as we get through this and you're like, this guy's crazy. Because I am a little bit. I mean, you have to be. Okay, so now we're ready. Let's see if my clicker works. Right, in the book of Daigneault, if you guys remember, some people at the beginning of the year, they do this Daigneault fast. It's not really a fast. It's kind of a type of diet. You just eat, vegetables and you drink water. But in the book of Daigneault, it says that, give us nothing but vegetables to eat, water to drink, and at the end of those 10 days, you look healthier. Now, probably one of the reasons why they looked healthier is because they weren't inflamed. Because what happened is when you eat the SAD diet, and if you might want to write this down, the SAD diet, right? The SAD diet stands for the Standard American Diet. When you eat the Standard American Diet, you have no chance. If you eat like the food pyramid says that you should eat and how you should feed your family, then you have no chance. You for sure will die early. You will have lots of chronic illnesses. You'll take a lot of drugs, even if you don't want to take them. Even if you don't like the doctors, you'll end up doing it anyway. And you'll have radiation treatment and chemotherapy treatment, and you will take a bunch of drugs. And it doesn't matter if you don't like it. It's going to happen. If we don't change our ways, it will happen 100% of the time. You see, in the past 50 plus years, we've been eating less fat than ever before, but yet we've been fatter than we've ever been. We're supposed to be eating less sugar, but yet, people put more, artificial sweeteners into their body. The average American now eats somewhere in the neighborhood of 175 pounds of sugar per year, right? Kids right now, 50% of our kids in this country are considered to be overweight. So what that means is it's happening earlier and earlier, more than ever before. And all of that is happening for one reason and one reason only. Right, this particular part is because we are on the SAD diet. I was this weekend. I was in Tennessee. I was at a training, and one of the keynote speakers is standing up there, and he says, "Listen, many of you are excited by having some Robert F. Kennedy out there and trying to make better decisions for this country. Taking the red dye out of the stuff and eating better cereal." But he says, eating better cereal, just so you understand that their cereal, just like they eat in Europe, It's still cereal. And you're still going to die early because you're eating the cereal. It's the same thing as when people go to the health food store, and I said at the health food store, my wife doesn't like me to say this, I'm only going to use it one time. I said, when you go to the health food store, right, people think it's better, and I tell people, I'm like, at the health food store, there's still crap, it's just more expensive crap. You follow me? So you walk in the aisle and you eat the chips and you eat the stuff, and because it says organic on it, you think it's good for you, but I want you to know that it's not, but most people don't know that. They're just willing to spend more money, and then whatever that it says organic, that's what you're going to buy. Right? Do you follow me? That is important to understand that, because if you don't, you're going to be leaving this place, or you're going to continue doing something over and over again, expecting something different, but it's never going to happen because you don't know any better. Right? And I want you to know better. It's pretty easy to do better, but you have to know. And not just to hear it, but you have to do it. If you've ever read the scripture, you're going to go there. It's in the book of James. It's called James 1:22, right? It says, don't just be a hearer of the word, but be a doer. A doer means you don't just hear, something, you're like, oh, that's good, that's good. Now you got to do it. You got to go ahead and do it. So you have a part to play. Okay. We're never going to get this through this 125 slides here. So here it says, why do people have inflammation? It says, do you have inflammation? Is that acute or chronic? Acute is like, hey, you break your leg, you're going to have inflammation. Yes? And then there's this thing called chronic inflammation. What's the difference between the two? Well, there's a reason why there's inflammation in the body. God doesn't do any bad things, just so you know. I'm giving you like a side note tonight. If you break your leg, it's going to swell. That's normal. And if your body is not in a state of health, and you have chronic illnesses, you're also going to have inflammation, because the body is trying to heal itself. The body is not stupid, right? There's no such thing as pathology. There's only adaptive physiology. Now, for some of you, don't know what I just said, but that's okay. Just forget what I said. But what I'm just going to say it in a different way, is your body is always doing the right thing. Whatever that right thing is, even if you don't like it, your body is always doing the right thing. So if you go to the doctor and your blood sugar is high, your body is not stupid. If your cholesterol is high, your body is not stupid. Whatever numbers that you have on your lab test, there's a reason for it. So you should always ask this one question, and if you don't have much of a piece of paper, you can write it on your hands with somebody else next to you that has a pen that you can write in your hands. I want you to write the word why. Because if there's something that I want you to leave with tonight, is like, every time that there's a problem, you need to ask the question, why? Whether it's the doctor, whether it's the PA, whether it's the nurse, whether it's your friends, whether it's your husband, your spouse, your kids, you want to ask the question, why? Now, some of you, you're not going to like to hear it because you have bad dreams because your kids, they just kept asking you why, and you get mad at them. You're like, just don't ask why, just do what I tell you to do, right? But if you think that way, then you're thinking the same way as when you go see the doctor, the real doctor, and you ask the doctor a question because you want to understand, because this is your body. Who's responsible for your health? You are. So if you don't ask the question, you're never going to have an answer. Sometimes you might never get an answer because they don't want to give you an answer, but you should be entitled to have an answer. Now, it's okay for somebody to say, I don't know, but we should ask the question why. Does that make sense? I want you to do that. That's really important. Number 2 here, it says, do you have inflammation? Is it good or bad? I want you to know it's always good. And then there's 2 kinds of inflammation I'm going to teach you about tonight. There's inflammation that is mechanical in nature, and there's inflammation that is physiological in nature. Do you follow me? There's mechanical inflammation and there's physiological inflammation, so that's important. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because there is some people, which I've only done this for 26 years now, not for very long, but there's people that they're like a carpenter. They see everything as a nail. They just want to hit the nail. And what I mean by this is there's people that are real fans of nutrition, and they think nutrition is really important for people's health. And nutrition is really important. But nutrition is not everything. I'm just giving you a side note. So if you think nutrition is everything, it's not. I might be the bearer of bad news. But it is very important. And I'm going to teach you a lot about nutrition tonight. But there is such thing that people have low-grade inflammation because they have a mechanical problem. Right? So if your head should be on top of your shoulders and you're walking around like this all day long for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, this is going to cause mechanical inflammation. Do you understand that? Okay? This is not rocket scientist. But yet, many people don't understand that. They're like, it hurts, it hurts. Can I take a pill for it? I'm like, no, your head is not on top of your shoulders. Do you understand that? Say yes. Okay? I don't want to say anything crazy. I just want you to understand. Dr. Jean-Guy is a fan of health, but there's many things that encompass health, and they all matter. So this topic about inflammation, just remember, I'm not mad. Not yet. Okay? I might get mad later. Okay. 2 kinds of inflammation. So here it says inflammation in numbers. If you go on Dr. Google right now and you type in how many people are inflamed in the country, you know it's going to say, hey, maybe 20% of the people. It's going to give you like, basically ChatGPT doesn't know, Google doesn't know, like the medical literature doesn't know. But I will tell you that anything that is involved with chronic illnesses, there is underneath that, what's lurking is low-grade inflammation. So I would dare to say that out of 10 people that comes to the office, 8 out of 10 have that, at least. That's a big number. So I want you to know that this applies to a lot of people. So here it says, this is in the book, it's called Fat That Heals and Fat That Kills. It says degenerative disease that involve fat prematurely kills over 2/3 of the people currently living in affluent industrialized nations. 68% of the people died from just 3 conditions involving fatty degeneration. And then it says cardiovascular disease, cancer, and diabetes. It says these deaths are the results of eating habits that are based on ignorance and misconception. Now, this is important. We're talking about fat here. We're going to talk about a lot of fat tonight because fat has a direct link to inflammation. So you need to know about fat. That's an exciting topic. We're going to talk about fat. This next one here, this is the mechanical part of inflammation. You might say that I'm biased. Yeah, I am a chiropractor by training. My expertise is in spinal biomechanic. My first studies were to be what was I supposed to be? You know, I forgot what I was supposed to be. I am definitely not here, okay? There's a lot of people have looked for me today. I didn't answer their text. Not yet. So my first study was to become a personal trainer in kinesiology, and then I got a nutrition degree and a chiropractic degree. I started a master's degree, never finished that because my wife says you need to go to work. But, okay, I do have an expertise in spinal biomechanic, and I understand a little bit about the mechanic of the body, how the body should work mechanically, and how your body should be able to function, right? So now I'm going to give you like a narrow portion of the mechanic of the body. It's called your spine. And there's 24 bones in your spine. And if you don't know about Nobel Prize winner, there's a guy, his name is Roger Sparrow, right back in the 80s, won the Nobel Prize. And the reason why he won the Nobel Prize is because he says that 80 to 90% of your brain nutrition has to do with proper motion of your joints. So when joints don't work properly in your body, which can be the joints in your foot, right? There's multiple bones in your foot. Yes, there's if you have problems with your knee, if you have problems with your hip, if you have problems with your spine, if you have problems with your elbow, with your fingers, with your wrist, those are all joints. When joints don't work properly, then you have a low-grade inflammation that is continuously lurking. You follow me? And the spine is really like an intricate portion of all of this because the area of your spine that has the greatest impact on your brain is the top 2 bone in your neck. Right? So if you were to say, Dr. Jean-Guy, I just want you to just like, there's 209 bones in your body, you know, I mean, there's only 1 or 2 that I want you to touch, you know, with no question asked. The only bone that I would have anybody touch on my body would be the top bone in your neck. It's called the atlas and the axis. This is where you have the most mechanoreceptors per square inch, which means nothing to you, but this is where it has the greatest impact on brain function. So this being said, okay, this might have passed like here. I'm telling you, there's 209 bones. There's a bunch of joints, and those joints, when they don't work properly, you're going to have low-grade inflammation. Do you follow me? So if you're out of line, I'm going to give you a car example. Some of you, that means nothing about the car, but I'm going to try to make it like you understand about the car. If you have like a misaligned, if the alignment on your car is off and you have brand new tires, are they still going to wear out? Yes or yes? Yeah. If the alignment is off, you put brand new tires, are they still going to wear out faster? You need an alignment and you need new tires. Now, unfortunately, God's only giving you one body. We cannot do body transplant, so you cannot put new tires on your body. Right? So would that be worth taking care of it? I mean, it should. But when you're young, you don't think about that. You're like, I'm just going to push through it. No big deal. But when you get older, you're like, hey, I'll do anything. Just tell me what I need to do. Okay, so we have a mechanical part. So if you're not mechanically sound in a gravity environment, you're going to have problems. Now there's 70 trillion cells in your body. How many? 70 trillion cells. She forced you to be here, but you got to learn that. 70. Can you say 70? 70 trillion cells in your body. Every one of those cells, they're all made out of fat. So do you think that if fat wasn't important, right, that God would have made every single cell in your body out of fat? Yes or yes? Is fat important? Say yes. Yeah, fat is very important. So what happened is every single cells of your body, everyone with no exception, they're all made out of fat. And those fats are really, really important as it relates to inflammation. Fats, with fats, you make hormones. But when those fats are out of proportion into your body, then what happens is you start having continuous inflammation. Right? When the fats in your body are off, you start having inflammation. Now, if you are on the SAD diet, right? The SAD diet, it's called the what? The Standard American diet. And if you eat how many pounds of sugar per year? The average is 150 to 170 pounds a year. Then what happened is, for sure, 100%, you're going to have low-grade inflammation continuously in your body, for sure, right? It's going to be lurking. And as a result of that, then the body starts breaking down and you have all kinds of symptoms. We'll talk about symptoms in a minute, right? Some of you, you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, it means that some of you just get up in the morning and can't move for the first hours. Some of you just can't sleep at night. Some of you, you're just like, I'm tired all the time. Some of you are like, I've got brain fog. Some of you are like, I have no energy. Some of you are like, I'm fatigued. Some of you are like, hey, 2 hours after I eat, I just crash, right? Some of you are like, my gut hurts all the time. Some of you are like, I fart all the time. You follow me? Some of you are like, I haven't pooped in 3 weeks. Do you understand that? Some of you are like, hey, I'm depressed. When people have low-grade inflammation, all of those symptoms can all be part of that. So here, the cell membrane, 70 trillion cells, they're all made out of fat, right? Some of those fat is called cholesterol, the one that they tell you not to eat, which they're lying to you, but I won't spend too much time on that tonight. Right? You should be eating fat. We'll talk about that a little bit later. There's one that you should not eat. It's called trans fat. So in the United States, it's still amazing to me. Every time I see a patient, I always ask them, or most people don't know that. Do you know that they can still put on the label, they can put 0 trans fat, but if you have less than 500 milligrams per serving, they can still have it in there. They're still selling it to you. But because it says 0 trans fat on the box, that's why you buy it. Because you don't know any better. Because you're a fool, right? Because they think that you're just stupid. But you need to know, because when you leave tonight, you'll be like, yeah, Dr. Jean-Guy told me. For the rest of your life. I won't answer a question right away, but you can write it down and I'll answer a question later. At the end, we're going to have a series of, I'll be taking your questions. So this is really, really important. Not because it says 0 trans fat, you need to go read the label. And on the label, it's going to say one of those 3 words. So you need to be, a customer that knows what they're talking about. You need to know about food, right? You need to know what's in your plate. So on Friday at 10 o'clock at the Daigneault compound, they're going to come in, they're going to pick up the cows, they're going to take it over to Bellinger, right? And we're going to have, we have cows at our house, and then those cows, they're going to be slaughtered. So that's why we don't give them names. And because we don't want to get attached to them. But we're going to eat them, right? Now those cows, when they end up in my plate, I don't know when it's going to happen. Maybe in the next couple of weeks. I know exactly where they're coming from, right? They're coming from our place. They got the hay from our place. You follow me? They were on our land for the last 3 years. Do you understand that? So when you go, wherever you go and whatever you have in front of you, you need to ask the question, where's this food comes from? Most cows in this country, what they're being fed with grain. So then they're going to say things like, yeah, this cow was fed with vegetarian feed. And then some people like that. They're like, vegetarian feed? That sounds good. Vegetarian feed, that means that we feed them with soy and corn. That's what we feed them their entire life. And then when they get sick, then we inject them with hormones and antibiotics so they can produce faster, they can they can get fat faster with growth hormones. You follow me? So you have to know where the food comes from, because this is going to help you to understand why people are inflamed, or why people say, Dr. Jean-Guy, I eat well, but yet, I'm having like 50 different problems. Most people don't, because they don't know about food. Now, not knowing about food, it's okay. That just means you're just ignorant. Ignorant is okay. Once you know, though, that means you're stupid. Do you follow me? This is really important. I don't want you to feel bad. I'm just telling you the truth. After I tell you, and you just don't do it, or you just you still think that you don't know, or you're not applying it, that means you're stupid. Right? This is important. I want to shake you up here a little bit tonight, because I see this too often. And it just breaks my heart to see people that are sick, and they're getting sicker. Do you think people are getting healthier in this country? No, they're not. Right? I'm never going to get myself out of a job. It's not going to happen. I teach you everything I know, and they're still the doors are they're coming in like cattle. Lots of people that are sick. Now, I would rather just keep people healthy. But that's not the case for the most part. Okay? So those three names, you need to be there's three kinds of fat. Is there any such thing as bad fat? Yes or no? No! Right? The bad fat they're man-made. The trans fats are man-made. Those guys are man-made, but in nature, is there any such thing as bad fat? When you go on your lab test and the doctor said you have your bad cholesterol, is there such thing as bad cholesterol? Say no. Okay, I'm going to ask you a lot of trick questions, and whatever you're thinking, just do the opposite. There's no such thing as bad cholesterol. There's cholesterol and cholesterol. If your LDL are high and your total cholesterol is high, you would ask the question, yeah, why? It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means hey, that means that if you eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta, of course your LDL is going to be high, and your total cholesterol is going to be high. Do you follow me? Okay. So they're all good. There's three kinds of fat. They're called monounsaturated, polyunsaturated. You need all of them. Okay, and then we have some example of that. I'm going to run through this because there's only 150 slides, so we got to get moving. Now, there is some of the fats. They're called the omega-6 fat. Now, listen to me here. It's more important than taking a picture. Then I'll let you take the picture. Right? Some people think he's going to click this thing, and I'm never going to have time to do it. I know. Sometimes I'm in your seat. I'm I got to take that picture. Omega-6 fatty acid is like taking a 5-gallon of diesel fuel, right? Or regular fuel, and you just put it in the fire. What's going to happen in the fire? Right? It's going to go, yes? So those omega-6 fatty acids today in the United States of America, those fats are everywhere. Can you say everywhere? Everywhere. Salad dressing, any kind of fried food, any kind of chips, even the organic one. Do you follow me? Even the organic one, the one that you think that you spend a lot of money for and they're good for you. When it says safflower oil, sunflower oil, those are all high in omega-6 fatty acid. And those omega-6 fatty acid is like putting gas in the fire. Do you follow me? Those are called omega-6, yes? Anything that is vegetable oil. Soybean oil, those are man-made oil. Do you follow me? Those are pro-inflammatory. And when you eat at the restaurant, I know that you don't go back there to the cook and say, what kind of oil are you using? You don't even need to do that. I'm telling you already. They're all bad. They're all bad. There's only a few places in the country that they use these days, they use tallow, or they use some animal fat, but it's really rare. 99% they don't do that. Do you follow me? So those are pro-inflammatory. So whenever you have your little, whatever your little is, and you think it's healthy at the fast food restaurant, just so you know, it's not. Right? It's not. Yeah, but Dr. Jean-Guy. I'm like, there is no yeah, but Dr. Jean-Guy. You know the word that my wife told me not to use? Starts with a C. I told her I won't use it again. Unless you say it, then I'll repeat it. Right? So those omega-6 fatty acid, they're really important. Now, do you need omega-6 fatty acid in your diet? The answer is yes. The problem today is because we have all this man-made type oil. Those oil, what they do is there's too many. They outnumbers the other one, and then it becomes like pro-inflammatory into the body. So this becomes really important now. You might want to, if you haven't taken a picture, you know, those are all omega-6 fat. Okay, too late now. You weren't quick enough. Now, there's also those omega-3 fat, and you've heard of those. Some of them are plant-based. They're called ALA, alpha-linoleic acid. They're plant-based like hemp, right? You see this? It says flaxseed, hemp, walnut. Those are omega-3 fat, but they come from plant. And then you have the omega-3 fat. It's called EPA and DHA. That's in fish oil. Now, the omega-3 versus the omega-6, the best ratio, right? They should be real close together, like 2-to-1 to 3-to-1 together. The average American is about 25-to-1. People that have any kind of mental illnesses, like people that have depression, people that have schizophrenia, right? When you read studies, it goes up to like 75-to-1. 75-to-1. Now they do psychological profile and they start putting people on omega-3 fatty acid at high dosage, and then they redo the psychological profile 90 days later and it completely change 180. Just by changing that omega-3 ratio profile between the 3 and the 6. And you know what? For like less than $100, all of you here, less than $100, you can just pinprick your little fingers, right? You can pinprick your little finger, a little drop of blood. I mean, if you don't want to do it, I can do it for you. And then, you know, just close your eyes and cry, and we're just going to push on your finger. And then 5 days later, they'll send you this report. There's like 5 pages long, and it will tell you, right, your omega-3 ratio, and it will tell you your chances of, like, you know, going cuckoo in the next 10 years for less than $100. That's interesting, isn't it? I'm sure that not many people have told you that before, if anybody. Okay, we're going to go to the next one here. Okay, we're going to skip this because there's only like, you know, 150 slides, so let's move on. This is like no need to do PhD level stuff here. This is okay. Now, remember those omega-6? Now look at me here for a minute. I'll let you take the picture, I promise. I'm not going to move on. Look at me here for a minute. This is really important. Remember those omega-6 fat? Those omega-6 fatty acid, what they do is they produce hormone, prostaglandin. Here it says prostaglandin. Can you see that behind me? Those prostaglandin, those are hormones. And those hormones, when you have those omega-6 that is out of ratio with the omega-3, then what happens is when you have a lot in your body, then that's what it does. Right? Those omega-3, those prostaglandin, the CR2 prostaglandin causes inflammation in the body. And then you have the diseases that are connected to that is vascular disease. Anything that has to do with heart disease. You follow me? Say yes. Okay, number 2, it says fibrosis. This is scar tissue of any sorts, whether it's internal or external. You follow me? Number 3 is you have, like it says, it will spark your sympathetic nervous system. How many of you here know about the sympathetic nervous system? Your sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight. Okay, now listen to me here for a minute. Your fight or flight today, right? Like many of you are sitting here tonight. And guess what? Your fight or flight is on. And it's on at all time. This lady is smiling because she's like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Right? This is called stress. When you get stressed out, your sympathetic nervous system just fires up at all time. And when your sympathetic nervous system fires up at all time, the inflammation is at an all-time high in your body. Your chances of any chronic illnesses, from having a heart attack, a stroke, cancer, Alzheimer, dementia, just name it, goes like way sky high when that kicks in. In America today, guess what? They have found a way to make sure that you're really stressed out. And how do they make sure that you do that? Is you have a husband and wife, they're both working, they both have a home, they have kids, they're trying to make, they're trying to make it happen. They have kids, they're playing sports. 7 days a week, they're going after it. You follow me? Right? You come home and then you have the sad diet because nobody has time to cook, right? And if you do cook, then we're going to do some macaroni and cheese. I know you're not like, you can't relate to what I'm talking about right now, right? And then what happened is we're going to make sure we just kick those kids to bed, as fast as we can, so we can, we can have 5 minutes before we go to bed. And the last 5 minutes is we're going to be on Facebook, and then also known as Fake Book, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to crank ourselves up because we're going to watch things that we shouldn't be watching. And then what happened is this system right there, it's called your sympathetic nervous system, is like out of control. You follow me? When your sympathetic nervous system cranks all out, then what happens is your body goes into like a state of like, you're dying at the speed of light. Let me show you this. Okay, so here it says, when your sympathetic nervous system gets all cranked up, then what happened is it controls every organ in your body. So guess what's going to happen to your organs? Are they going to function better or worse? They're going to function worse. They're going to start breaking down, right? And then what happened is it's going to suppress your immune system. So it will decrease, it will inhibit your IgG. This is what fights infection. So then people get sick. That's okay because we got pills and we got drugs for that, right? If we can stress you out to the max, we have a way to get, you know what? We don't want to kill you. We just want to get you sick. We don't want to kill you. We just want to get you sick. If we can get you sick a little bit for a long time, it's going to be very profitable. Do you follow me? So then what happened, it will inhibit your IgG, and then it will crank up your IgE in your body, which will causes people to have allergy. And then people will have asthma, they can't breathe. That's not a big deal. Just go get your inhaler because they'll be happy to give you one of those. You follow me? How does that sound? Sounds good? I know you might be sitting here tonight and you're like, hey, that's evil. I mean, it is. But you just don't know the plan. But they do have a plan. Right? And I see the plan every day. I see that with people every day. Some people get it. Some people don't get it. Some people get it a little bit. Right? That means they're going to live a little bit longer. But remember, this is not how long you live. It's the quality that you have while you're here. Right? How much quality do you have? If you're going to live to be like 75, 80 years old, but the last 20 years of your life, you're sitting in a wheelchair and you're drooling all over yourself, what is that good for? Right? Nobody wants that, but yet, based on how people live, that's where they're heading. And then here at the end, it says vasoconstriction. And then what happened is it will decrease the oxygen in your body. Is oxygen important? Yes or yes? Yeah, it's kind of important, right? It will decrease the ATP. That's the energy. Now, this weekend, again, right, there's a guy there. He's a friend of Dr. Denise and I. A year ago, he was diagnosed with brain cancer as a chiropractor. They gave him less than 5% chances in 8 months to be still alive. This brain cancer is so aggressive. He's like, even if we do all the treatment, you're going to be dead in 8 months, less than 5%. And he is one of the few today, he's still alive. He was giving his testimony. But do you know one of the things that when he gave his testimony of what he's done, right? What he's done, because some of you might even ask, by the time I'm done, you'll just come in and you'll be like, what did he do? What did he do? It's only 80 pages long, right? And he says, hey, if you're not going to be all in, it's just not going to work. You got to be all in. Now, I'm not going to give you all the things that he did, but I'll give you this one thing, right? One of the things that he talks about, which we've done this at our office for a long time already, unbeknown to people. In your cells, in those 70 trillion cells, there's an organelle in there. It's called the mitochondria. And your mitochondria is in charge of producing ATP, which is energy. That's what it is, ATP production. You see this, my little clicker? My little clicker. See here, it says it decreased the ATP production. That's the energy, right? So what happened is when your mitochondria doesn't work, then basically it's in every cells of your body, and it starts like it's suppressing your ability to be the person that God has called you to be. You follow me? And I know this is a little bit technical, but I want you to know that if a person wants to be healthy long term, if your mitochondria are not healthy, you're going to have chronic inflammation. And then it says it will impair your genetic expression and healing. That means that when you have inflammation, it's going to impair your healing ability. So which condition could a person have that inflammation is not involved? I want you to say none. 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 Don't fall asleep on me. The answer is none. That's kind of important, right? And then it says inflammation will cause degeneration, pain, and then free radicals. For those of you that wants to Anti-aging class. They want to live forever, right? People are like, anti-aging. Oh, that sounds good. Anti-aging. Get a lot of people for that class. There's no such thing. You're dying. Doesn't matter. But you can decide today, right? How long you want to, the quality that you're going to have while you're here. If you look at those people's story, I'm challenging you here tonight to go look at Toby Keith, go look at his story. Go look 20 years when he found out that he had stomach cancer and the life that he had to live while he's dying. Just go look at Steve Jobs when he died, that he was worth like $8 billion or whatever. Look at the life that he had the last several years of his life and the quality that he had. He had all the money in the world. He could have bought any doctors, any treatment, any of anything, but yet he couldn't buy his health back. You follow that, right? The hardest thing for me is to see people that they made bad decisions for so long that at some point in time, there's a point of no return because people don't listen, right? They just want to do what they want to do, however they want to do, and that's okay, right? But it's hard to see people dying in front of my eyes, though. So what else causes inflammation? It says food, environmental allergies, immune challenge, chemical, heavy metals. We're going to go over that, and I'll show you the research. Right? You don't need to take a picture of this one. I'll tell you which one you really need to take a picture of. It's coming up, right? Right here it says number 1, it says lifestyle and behavior cause. It says poor diet, high intake of refined carb. It's called the ultra refined processed diet. The ultra refined processed diet, it's 75% of the population. They are on the ultra refined diet. That's what people eat every day. I'm reading this book on immunology, which, that was a little while ago now, but this medical doctor, he's like, listen, 75% plus of the people in this country, they're on a high refined carbohydrate diet, ultra refined carbohydrate diet, over 75% of people. Then it says an excess omega-6 fatty acids, so too much fast food, any kind of vegetable oil versus the omega-3 ratio, the ultra processed food and additive, right? Low fibers, antioxidant, and phytonutrient. Where do you find your fibers? You find that in fruits and vegetables. Some people don't know what that is, but those things that are green, rainbow color. You should have all the colors, right? Green, yellow, vegetables every day. Yes, every day. Yes, yes. Green grass, alfalfa, Brussels sprout. Yes. Swiss chard, buckwheat. Yes. Okay. Here it says physical inactivity, sedentary lifestyle, decrease your interleukin 10 and whatever that, this thing has to do with fat cells. And it says increase visceral fat, inflammatory cytokine. The reason why I want you to see this is because this is really interesting. Because when we get to the end, I'm just going to give you the punch. Right? At the office, we look at all of those things. I tell people about all those things. I don't go over the detail because I don't have time. But I tell people, I'm like, hey, when we nutritionally test people, that's what we test them for. If you have chemicals in your body and you don't get those chemicals out, you have low-grade inflammation. If you have heavy metals in your body and we test that and we don't get them out, you're going to have low-grade inflammation. If you have food sensitivity, that if you're allergic to, if you have sensitivity to gluten or with dairy or corn and you put them in your body and you don't remove them from your diet, it's like having the perfect soil, right? The perfect soil, the organic soil, but then you take a 5-gallon of diesel fuel and you put it in there. The soil is perfect, but yet, you cannot intoxicate it with diesel fuel. That's just not going to work. Right? So increase visceral fat and inflammatory cytokines. So now listen. This is probably the hardest thing to tell people, but I'm just going to give you my trick, but just don't tell any one of my patients. Are you ready? Some of you maybe you already are, but okay, so are you ready? This is really important. There's every extra fat cells that there is in the body, those cells, they're going to produce inflammation. They're also going to produce estrogen. Now, there's 3 hormones in your body that stores fat: estrogen, insulin, and cortisol. You get more cortisol in your body when you're stressed out. There's a few of those in the country? Probably all of you, and there's more, your brothers and your sisters and people around you. And then number 2 is you have insulin. When you're in the SAD diet, the insulin is always high. You follow that? Insulin is always high when you're in the SAD diet. And then number 3 is estrogen. Estrogen will just mobilize, it will store fat. That's what it's designed to do. Right? Number 2 here, it says overactive HPA axis, elevate cortisol, and interleukin 6. HPA axis, it's called the hypopituitary axis, right? The hypopituitary axis, the hypopituitary adrenal axis, the hypopituitary adrenal axis, right? The pituitary is in your brain. It goes from your brain to the adrenal gland, right? When this gets dysregulated, when people have trauma, when people have accident, when people eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta, then what happens is you have HPA axis dysregulation. Now you're like, I have no idea what you said. You just need to remember one thing, right? It's going to cause people to have low-grade inflammation. Because what happened is your adrenals, they're little glands right on top of your kidney. They're right here, right? Just touch your adrenal right now. Be like, oh, I love you guys. I love you. I love you, right? Thank you for just keeping me alive all those years with everything I put you through, right? The adrenals are in charge of your stress. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, when we talk about stress tonight, I want you to think of 2 things. Are you ready? 2 things. Number 1 is stress is what you know. You're like, hey, my kids, they stress me out. And I'm like, mine too, right? But there's also a second type of stress is like what your body perceives. You follow me? That one is important. What does your body perceive as stress? So what that means is if you were to have a bunch of parasites in your gut, if you have a parasitic infection, but yet you don't handle that, that's stressful to the body. You follow me? So stress can be what you know you have or what your body is perceiving. That's important. Because there's some of you might be sitting there and say, hey, I really don't have no stress. I mean, I live the life of, my life is perfect. My life is great. I'm in a great season. I'm like, good for you. But some of you, you're sitting there and you're like, that's not me. And I'm like, yeah, like a lot of other people, get in line. And then it says the increased sympathetic tone, right? So your sympathetic is being fired up when you are what? When you're stressed, right? When you're stressed. Did you know? You probably don't know that, but I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to put a plug, just a plug for myself, in case you don't know. Do you know that there's dozens of chiropractic studies that says when you get a chiropractic adjustment, what it does is it turns off your sympathetic nervous system. So when people say, well, Dr. Jean-Guy, my back don't hurt. I'm like, who cares? Who cares if your back hurts or not? That's not why you get adjusted. You get adjusted so your brain can communicate to the rest of the body and your nervous system can function properly in a mode of happiness. You follow me? Every chiropractic adjustment a person gets, even if they don't have any pain, you're going to get some great benefit from it because it will change the way your brain functions and the way your brain perceives the environment. It's called neuroplasticity. Then it says when you don't sleep, it will increase your inflammation. So sleeping is really important. So I always ask people, do you have a hard time to fall asleep, stay asleep, getting restful sleep? Some people, they're really lucky. They have all the problems. They're like, I can't fall asleep, I can't stay asleep, and I cannot get restful sleep. And I'm like, okay, you're in deep trouble, right? Sleeping is important. This next one here, it says, don't smoke, don't drink, right? Do not smoke and drink. Why is that important? I know, right? I just want to challenge you here tonight. I've done this long enough. When people are like, yeah, I don't drink much. I just want to tell you that now I want you to think of this, and most of the time people already know this. When people drink a little bit, I probably have the permission to say that, but lots of people, the reason why you drink or maybe why you have been drinking is when people say, hey, that just relaxes me. It's usually because there's some stresses that haven't been handled. And if you don't handle those other stresses and you just keep drinking every night, that's probably not getting to the root cause of the problem. Would you agree? I'm like a root cause person. When I take care of people, I wanted to get to the root cause. What's the root cause? Because if we can get to the root cause, this is when we're going to make some great stride into a person's health. Does that make sense? Right? That's important. So, I don't drink. You can do whatever you want. I'm just telling you that drinking and smoking is probably not the best thing. Then it says if a person is overweight, it says adipose tissue will release all of those interleukin-6, those tumor factor, leptin, visceral fat act as an endocrine inflammatory organ. Now listen. So when we do an exam, when we do a nutritional exam, we do this thing called a BCA, and I thought I'd put one in, but I did not do that. But some of you, you've been a nutrition patient, or maybe you've had in the past, or maybe you have never been, maybe you will be one day. And when we do those BCA, we always look at visceral fat. Visceral fat, there's 3 kinds of fats in your body. So if somebody wants to volunteer right now, just come on up here. And I'm just kidding. I'm going to take my knife here, and I'm just going to cut your skin. If I go right underneath your skin, the fat that you have there is like harmless. No problem. Okay? Now, if I go inside of your abdomen, of your abdominal cavity, now there's fat there around the organ. This is called visceral fat. You follow me? You should have visceral fat, but when you have too much of it, it just chokes the organ. That's when you have this inflammatory response. Does that make sense? Now, when there's too much fat, the body doesn't know what to do with it. It's going to take the fat, and it's going to push it into the organ. Then people have fatty liver. Yes? So fatty liver is not a death sentence. It just means that when you eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta, right? You don't have to be an alcoholic to have fatty liver. You just have to be a sugaraholic. So this young man came in today. He's 30 years old. He's got fatty liver. He's 30 years old. You shouldn't have fatty liver at 30 years old. Does that make sense? The good news is you can turn that around if you choose to. So there's 3 kinds of fat. The one underneath your skin, harmless. The one around your organ, you should have some, but when you have too much, problem. And then what happened is the third type is when it drives into the organ. You even see that in people's back. When people have chronic back pain, when they do MRI and they ask the radiologist, they're like, hey, can you just look at the muscles? They always find. Can you say always? Always. Where did she go? Okay, this girl was here. She just disappeared on me, right? I'm going to get her back later. So they always find fat into people's deep muscles of the spine. Because what happened is when muscles don't fire, when they haven't been used, then fat infiltrate into the muscles. So one of the things that we do in the office is, we address that. People are like, oh yeah, I exercise all the time. I'm like, liar. No, I don't say that to people, but I'm just thinking, no, of course you don't. And even if you were to do it, you don't do the exercise you need to do to make sure there is no fat in the muscles. Okay. Lose my train of thoughts here. So insulin resistance. So it says high glucose / lipid mitochondrial stress, and then it's linked to metabolic syndrome, and then CRP, which is C-reactive protein. We're going to talk about that a little bit later because I'll give you this little resume, right? Don't take a picture of all of them. I'll give you the resume. Don't you like the shortcuts? I'll give you the shortcuts, just on one slide. But what it says here is if your blood sugar in the morning it has to be less than 100. You'd like to have it around 80 or so. Your HA1C needs to be below 6. Right? If you can have it at 5.5 or even below, right? HA1C is when you have your blood sugar over a period of 3 months. You follow me? Right? When you're fasting, insulin should be at less than 5. When your insulin runs high all the time, that means your blood sugar is high. The insulin is trying to bring it into the cells, but it doesn't get in, right? Because the door is shut. Do you know how the door gets to be shut? Do you know how the door gets to be shut in your cells so your body cannot get the sugar in? Do you know how it happens? It happens is when you have a lot of trans fatty acid into your body. Trans fat, they're the bad fat, they're man-made fat. When you have a lot of that, the cell membrane becomes stiff. And when it becomes stiff, then what happens is the insulin cannot dock to the cell membrane to get the sugar inside the cells. You're like, I did not understand anything you said. That's okay. Just don't worry about it. I'm just telling you, if you have high insulin constantly, if your fasting insulin is high, more than 5, that means you're becoming a diabetic. It's happening right now. And your number should be less than 5. So when you see those numbers, you're like, hey, even if you're like, hey, I feel fine, you're not fine. It's happening unbeknown to you. But on your blood test, the doctor is going to be like, hey, you're doing fine. You're good, right? We're managing your number. Then it says your gut. Do you know what LPS are? You know what those LPS are? Those are called biofilm. Let's talk about biofilm. Do you know that today in all of the grain in this country, can you say all? They spray our grain with pesticides, herbicides, glyphosate. the glyphosate in your body creates biofilm. And when you have biofilm, is what those biofilm do is they engulf, bugs into your gut, and they prevent your gut from functioning properly. And then people start developing leaky gut syndrome. And when you have leaky gut syndrome, then what happens is there's 3 different tubes in your body. How many tubes? 3. There's your gut, there's the blood, and then there's the tissue. So when the first tube is not sealed properly, right? And there's big holes in there, and then when you eat, all the stuff you eat gets through, the body, your immune system sees that as being foreign to your body, and it starts attacking it. And then you develop an inflammatory reaction. Do you follow me? So when people have biofilm in their body, a person will have leaky gut, which is a broad term to say that your gut doesn't work right. Right? How do we know if your gut works right or not? Well, there's many things, right? I mean, do you have like nauseousness when you eat or after you eat? Do you poop every day, right? I know, the pooping talk is not it's not really fun, but you got to ask, do you poop every day? Do you have indigestion? Do you have heartburn? Do you get bloated, right? All of those things, that's supposed to be like, when you have any of those symptoms, that means that your gut doesn't work properly. You cannot just poop like every 2 days, every 3 days, or every week. That doesn't work, right? You eat a couple times a day and you just go poop once a week. It's just like, that doesn't make sense. That means you're full of it. How can you not have brain fog? Every time that you have 1 round of antibiotic, it will just mess up your gastrointestinal tract for 2 years. Every time you take 1 round of antibiotic, now listen to me, 1 round. Some of you've taken dozen. You don't even think twice. You just go to emergency. You have a runny nose, you just run to the emergency. Give me an antibiotic, I'm going to die. I'm trying to be funny, but it's not funny. People do that. And you shouldn't do that. It's silly. Do you understand? It's silly. Your body was designed to heal. It's designed to heal. It wants to heal at all times. You just got to create the environment for healing. Right? When you have a temperature, are you healthy or you're sick? I told you I would ask you a trick question. Don't say I'm sick. You're healthy. A temperature is normal. That means you're healthy. Don't go to the doctor. But Dr. Jean-Guy, what about seizures? What about I'm going to die? I'm like, yeah, maybe if it's at 106, But how many times did that really happen to be 106? How many times, really? Does that happen every day? That's the reason why at our house we don't have a thermometer, because we don't care. Right? We don't care. 5 kids later, somehow, some way, they all survived. Did they get sick? Yeah. I don't know if they were sick. They were like sniffles, whatever. Just get on your side. We're going to give you an adjustment. That's what we did. Just like that. Right? Let me give you a hug. People think we're joking. Yeah, we adjusted them. That's all they got. You're sick? Get an adjustment. Right? Okay. Low fibers, you got to eat food that has, if you eat food, there's fibers in it. You got to eat food. So all those things cause. Now your mouth. Now check this out. Your mouth. Right? Your mouth. I'm going to give you a story, my story. Your mouth. When you have this periodontal disease, right? When you have bleeding when you brush your teeth. A lot of people have that. They want to do all those treatments. We're going to put antibiotic on your gum. That's barbaric. But people do it because they're going to scare you. The doctor is going to be like, yeah, but you're going to have heart disease. And they're not telling you a lie. That's the truth. But your mouth is a reflection of what's happening in your body. That's a sign of inflammation. Do you understand that? So one time I go there years ago, and this lady, and the doctor, they gang up on me. I don't know why they do that. Somehow they seem to think that they got to gang up on me, more than one person. So, they're checking my gum, and she's taking this, whatever that pick there, and she's pushing real hard. I'm like, well, no kidding. I'm going to be bleeding by the time I'm done. But okay, whatever. And then by the time I'm done, they're like, yeah, we did all this assessment and you have all those 5. And when you're at 5, you're in bad shape. And then they bring the doctor in. They're like, hey, do you know that if you have those 5, you can have a heart attack and you can have heart disease? And they're telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting scared right now. I'm like, so what are you going to do? Well, they're like, well, we're going to have you come back for the next treatment. And we're going to take a scalpel. We're going to cut your gum and make them bleed. And then we're going to put some antibiotic. And then after that, we're going to do some whatever. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Right? So then I went home and I'm like, hey, I'll be back. Just like Arnold, I'll be back. And then a month later, I come back. And then I went home and I'm like, hey, if it's true, what I'm going to do is I'll do a cleanse for 21 days. Right? Do the cleanse for 21 days. 21 days later, go back a month later. And she's like, hey, did you use that toothbrush that vibrates really fast? I'm like, sure. What did you do? Did you brush your teeth like 5 times a day? I'm like, sure. Right? They're like, this is completely better. I'm like, yeah, because your mouth is a reflection of what's happening in your body. Yes? Do you follow me? Say yes. Your mouth is a reflection of what's happening inside. So if your mouth is not healthy, it's a reflection of what's happening on the inside. Right? This lady is not here tonight, but her name is Laura. She's got 10 kids, maybe 4. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but she comes in with one of them. She's like, yeah, my daughter, she's got 8 cavities. I'm like, you should not have 8 cavities. If you have 8 cavities, I'm not here. Who's going to, got to turn your phone off. Okay. So now she says, I've got 8 cavities. So guess what we did? When you have 8 cavities and if you don't eat sugar, which it could happen because cavities is not just about sugar. It's about the microbiome in your mouth. It's like the bacterial flora in your mouth. You follow me? Right? A month later, cavity went away. How's that happen? Can cavity get fixed? The answer is yes. That was because of inflammation. Okay. Environmental stuff, toxins like ticks and heavy metal pesticides. So all of our grain today, they're all sprayed with pesticides. All of them. Can you say all? BPA, those are plastic. Phthalate, right? Those are chemicals. PFAS, disrupt the immune hormonal system. All of those things causes inflammation. Then you have those old cells in your body, senescent cells, they cause inflammation, right? That's why we need to detox. That needs to be part of, guess what? This guy that had brain cancer that reversed it in 8 months, guess what he did? He detox, right? In January, it's that's usually when we talked about fasting, about detoxing, but this should happen nonstop. And detoxing needs to be part of your life, nonstop. Every quarter, are you going to do some sauna? Are you going to do the 21-day purification program? What are you going to do to detox? All of the people. Can you say all? It's not just one of you, it's all. It's got to be part of the program. Detox needs to be part of the program if you want to stay healthy and not have chronic inflammation. All. Can you say all? All. Yeah, say it again. All. Okay. So here it says low estrogen, testosterone, DHEA increase inflammation. So if you're out of balance, if your hormonal system is out of balance, you're going to have inflammation. The next one here, it says biological and genetic autoimmune, variant interleukin 6. Those are all immune system stuff. C-reactive protein, when your doctor does the blood test, oftentimes you'll have that on your blood test. So here it says other triggers, chronic pain, trauma, dental disease, oral inflammation, social isolation, emotional stress. Let's just talk about this here just for the fun of it. I know nobody wants to talk about it, but let's talk about this for a minute. This last 2 here, do you understand that when people have trauma, right? When people have trauma, when people isolate for whatever reason, that it's causing stress in a person's body. So this low-grade inflammation, when Dr. Jean-Guy says, hey, that could be mechanical, you might need an adjustment, you might need to have spine correction done, you might need to have somebody working on your posture for the next 6 months or a year. But at the same time, if a person have, right, emotional stress, you have mental health problem, right, can that cause systemic inflammation? The answer is yes. Do you understand that? Now, when I play hockey, not that you want to know this, but last night I'm on the ice, right? And I play with the old guys now. I don't know why I do that because they don't have any other teams that play at 5 o'clock because I go to bed at 8. So I got to do whatever I got to do. I'd like to play with the younger guys, and just get a better challenge, but it's not happening. So this guy gets on the ice. That was the side point here. This guy gets on the ice. He's got his mask on. I'm like, what in the world? What are you doing? You talk about giving yourself inflammation. How can you just not breathe being on the ice for the next hour and a half and not being sicker than when you went in? Do you see how this makes no sense? There is no good reason. Do you understand? No good reason. Zero. It doesn't matter if the guy's got cancer. It doesn't matter what he has. There is no good reason for a person to get on the ice with their mask on. Zero. It's the most silly things that you can do for yourself and your immune system and inflammation. But people still do that. You're like, what are you doing? Now, do you know that fear causes stress and stress causes you to be inflamed? Did you know that? So when people have 3 masks and they're walking on the sidewalk by themselves, I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I'm just telling you that that's not smart. Likely they're in fear. They think they're going to die. That's why they wear the mask. God bless them, but they're not helping themselves. Because fear causes stress, yes? Worries causes stress. Anxiety causes stress. And when you have stress, you have inflammation. Okay, this is the summary one. Maybe you can take a picture of that. Here's the summary, right? Oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, leaky gut, cellular senescence, that's old cells, neuroendocrine imbalance, cortisol dysregulation. This is like the entire world. And this is all like this particular slide. Those are all nutritional problems. Those are all the things that we checked in people when we take care of them. So here are your choices: is you can have some clean meats, it says, right? Now let's define clean meat. You cannot be leaving this place tonight without understanding what clean meat is, right? If you were to buy some hamburger meat tonight and you go to the store, you're looking for grass-fed meat, and then if possible, they're finished with grass. That means that you have a cow that's been eating grass their entire life instead of having a cow that has been eating corn and soy its entire life, which is full of omega-6 fatty acid. And omega-6 fatty acid, it's like putting gas in the what? In the fire, thank you. And it causes less or more inflammation. It's causing more, right? And then you want to be taking fish oil. Okay, now you don't want to be taking any kind of fish oil. Now, fish oil is just like food. People have like no idea. They send me pictures all day, and I just want to vomit. Okay? They're like, oh, what about this one, Dr. Jean-Guy? I'm like, that's junk. And some people, I don't even tell them. I'm just like, just finish what you have. We're going to upgrade you later. Okay? Because just you spend money on it, I mean, you got to just have it, make it worth your while. So there's 2 rules for fish oil. Are you ready? If you want to write them down, just so you know. Some of you don't care because you're like, it comes from your office and, it's probably all right. Right? And it is. 2 rules. Rule number 1, it has to be pharmaceutical grade and or molecular distilled. Rule number 2, it has to be with a triglyceride backbone, which means nothing to you. But a triglyceride backbone means that it comes from a natural source. That means it hasn't been, changed by a PhD in a lab. Those are the 2 rules. 95% of the fish oil market, they're junk. And people send me those reels. They make all their health decisions based on the reels that they watch for 30 seconds. And I'm not telling you that some of them might not be decent. I'm just telling you that you cannot be making your health decision based on the reel that you watch for 30 seconds. So fish oil is really important. I mean, it's really important. So we do have this test at the office, less than $100. You just pinprick your finger right? Then you can get this 5-page report, then you'll know. And then it says decrease the omega-6, so you need to stop eating like all the vegetable oil, safflower oil, the organic chips at the health food store. And then the things that are sugar, they turn into sugar, then you want to eat more fruits and vegetables. Those are your choices. You know, choice, now the last choice here, it's not Dr. Jean-Guy's choice, but it's the choice of lots of Americans, millions of them, right? People will take those right? People will take those drugs. They're called COX inhibitors. So when you take the ibuprofen and you take the Aleve and you take the whatever you take, right? I mean, people want to take their drugs. I mean, they're just addicted to their drugs. They take drugs every day. They just want to tell me about all the drugs they take. Dr. Jean-Guy, just take the drugs for the pain. I'm like, well, just do it. Take whatever drugs you want to take. I'm not a fan of drugs, right? My brain doesn't work like that. When you take the drugs and you numb your pain and you numb your brain, then you don't know how you feel. So then you do things that are probably stupid. Or you take your pain drugs and then you feel better and you keep eating cake, cookies, candies, and ice cream. Do you see how it makes no sense? It just makes no sense. But people just want to do what they want to do. But you guys are not going to do that anymore because you just know better. Right? The reason why I'm not a fan of any kind of drugs whatsoever, right? Are you healthier if you take more drugs or less drugs? Thank you. Your goal in life is to take the least amount possible for the rest of your life to the best of your ability by taking care of yourself. And then feeling how you feel is not a bad thing. Now, if you've ever read the book, it's called the scripture. Maybe you've never read it, but I'm just going to in the book of Psalm, right? It's a pretty long book. Maybe you don't want to read it, but I'll give you the skinny on one page. Are you ready? Most of the Psalm was written by David. And then one day what happened to David, if you've ever read the book, you know, one day he's weeping, you know, in front of the Lord. You know, I mean, he's crying and he's weeping and he's not having a good day. And the next thing is he's naked. The next day he's naked and dancing and rejoicing and praising, and he's having the best day of his life. What is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is you're not going to be happy all the time. That's the moral of the story. There's some days that's going to be better. Some days they're not going to be as good. And if you have kids, for sure it's going to happen. Okay? It's going to happen. And it's okay. You should not be happy all the time. Right? It's okay. It's okay to have a bad day. Just need to get yourself out of it. Do you follow me? But when you watch too much Facebook and you think that everybody should be happy all the time, you know, those people, they just try to manipulate you. Because that's not life. If you know what I'm talking about. So it's okay to have seasons, right? It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. So then your other choice is you want to take some drugs like most people do. And those drugs, they're bad for the body. They cause side effect unbeknown to you. 40,000 people die from taking, you know, Aleve and ibuprofen every year. 40,000. Do you understand? 40,000. 40,000. Can you imagine if one time in my life, right, Dr. Jean-Guy, been in practice for 26 years. Do you understand that if I, right, just kill one person, I mean, it's not a big deal. You know, I go, just one. It's not a big deal. Do you understand if I just kill one, I'm never going to practice again, ever. Ever, ever, ever. When people are like, is chiropractic safe? I mean, I don't know. It's much safer than taking those. Much, much. Right? And they're like, are you going to kill me? I'm like, I could, but I feel good today. And I like you. I'll keep you around. Right? I'm glad you guys are laughing. Okay, let's go through this here. This is a bunch of stats, but okay, you want to take this picture. When you go see your doctor, ask him to take those tests. This will give you insight. This is not like everything, but this will give you insight to see like how are you doing with inflammation. So it says high sensitivity C-reactive protein, homocysteine, cholesterol profile, HA1C, fasting blood glucose, fatty acid profile, vitamin D. Right, your vitamin D level should be like high, like between 60 and 100, like 80 and 100. You want to have it high because it's protective to the immune system, but it's also protective to inflammation in the body. When your vitamin D level is low, then we already know that you have inflammation. Yes, we don't want to have low level vitamin D. So that's the reason why on Dr. Jean-Guy's basic nutrition for everybody. Did I say everybody? Everybody, whether it's Sarah, whether it's this young lady right here, this young lady, I don't know if I've seen her before, this young man right here, like forever. You just never stop. You take fish oil and you take vitamin D every day, and you never stop. You don't need me to tell you yes or no. You take it for the rest of your life until the day you croak over. And you better not miss. Because what happened, the fish oil is you don't have it in your diet, or if you have it, you don't have enough. Some of you are like, yeah, but Dr. Jean-Guy, I eat fish 3 times a week. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And if you do, you're probably eating bad fish anyway. Okay, let's just be honest. Okay. So those omega-6 to omega-3, the ratio should be like when it's like perfect, like 1-to-1, the acceptable ratio up to 4-to-1. Most American 25-to-1. And when people have mental illnesses, they have like hugely bad ratio. Do you see that? Like in the medical literature, there's thousands. Can you say 1,000? Say 1,000. There's thousands of papers on the benefit of omega-3 fatty acid. Thousands. Not one, but thousands. That's a lot. So this is like somebody that had a test done, right? And this is omega-6 to omega-3. Do you see here? It says 4.4-to-1. It says desirable range, 3-to-1, 5-to-1. I want to have it as close as possible to 1-to-1. And that means that you have a balance where your body is not in constant state of inflammation. Yes? So this is what you would see on the test. And then you have this thing here. We did not go over this, but the arachidonic acid, it's another type of prostaglandin. And then the ratio between those two should be, right? It says 2.5 all the way up to 11-to-1. You want to keep this as low as possible. The closer that you have it from 2-to-1 ratio, this is what you're looking for. Arachidonic acid is a type of when people eat bad fat, right? When you eat bad fat, it will break down into your body, into this thing called arachidonic acid. And arachidonic acid is like fire. So you're trying to have this ratio to be close together. And then your trans fat, you should have less than 1% in your cells. And then this particular person here, they have 0.46%. Yes? Yeah, 5 pages of it tells you about all the fats of your body. For $50, then you'll know, right, what's happening in the body. Did I say $50? Like, I think it's $100 or less than $100. But it gives you all the information that it's essential to know what's happening to your inflammatory system. Now, I have this lady, her name is, I forgot her name. I need to take my fish oil today. I skipped that, but it's supposed to be good for the brain. Let me think. Okay, her name is Debbie, right? So Debbie's been having some hip problem, and she's been a patient for a long time, probably 10 plus years, maybe more than that. And I said to her, after we did a lot of different things, right? I said, hey, what happened is there's times that when people's ratio of omega-3, omega-6 are not level, that they're in a constant state of low-grade inflammation, people have chronic pain. And she had tried just about everything. So I said, now what I want you to do is you're going to take 10 grams of fish oil. Now, if I were to go to your house, and if you're not a patient of ours in our office, most of you, like 10 grams of fish oil, probably 40 pills that you have at your house, okay? Likely to be 40 pills, just about. I said, I want you to take 10 grams of fish oil, and you're going to do this here for a couple of months, and we'll see what happens. So she does that for a few months, and after doing this for a few months, now she's taking it in liquid, because in liquid you can take higher concentration. You don't have to take as much, so she's taking 4 teaspoons a day. That's 10 grams of fish oil a day. That's a lot, right? But what happened is, a few months down the road, we're 90 days down the road, guess what? For the first time in over a decade, she doesn't have any more hip pain. Now what happened is she had low-grade inflammation that was continuously, right, lurking underneath. You follow me? And if you don't get to change those patterns, it takes 90 days when they do PET scan in the brain, 90 days, to see the cells being saturated. Does that make sense? So what happened is if those cells are not saturated, then your body doesn't have enough, then you're never going to get the benefit of it. So this being said, I want to be joking around. I want to just poke on you a little bit. I want to prod you. Some of you have talked to you about this before, right? People, they just complain and they whine and they're like, oh, that's way too much. I'm taking 4 pills a day. Those are like horse pills. I'm like, come on now, just suck it up, buttercup. It's not a big deal. You can just like chew them, just, swallow the oil and just throw out the capsules. It's not a big deal. Your health is much more important than thinking that you're going to die from taking 4 capsules of fish oil. Right? It's not a big deal. It's much worse to have brain cancer and they tell you you're going to be dead in 8 months. Do you understand that? It's much worse than having chronic illnesses. People that have heart disease, they have to go to, the doctor 57 times a year. Do you understand that? It's much harder to take 10 different drugs constantly for the rest of your life. That you're scared to go on vacation because you don't want to be missing on the drugs that you have because you won't be able to function. Do you understand that? Right? I want you to think of what the alternative is. Taking a couple teaspoons of fish oil, and you're like, that's gross. I'm like, most of the time I don't see it. Once in a while I say, hey, can I talk to you like you're my brother? It's not a big deal, right? Just do whatever needs to be done. Okay. So here, vitamin D and low-grade inflammation, this is all the bad things that it does in the body. I want to skip through this because you guys are getting tired, and I want to just get to the last thing. Those are all studies on pregnancy. I want to tell you about all of you here. There's a few of you that looks like you're 12 years old, but most of you look older and wiser. So let's talk about this here for a minute. High blood pressure, do you see that? Okay, we're going to skip through that. Bottom line, here's the bottom line. We like the bottom line. I just like to repeat myself too, but I want to tell you about this. And then we're going to answer some question. Then I want to give you the opportunity, if you've never had a nutritional evaluation, that you can have that. So here's what I want to tell you. Because not many of you look like you're 12 years old tonight. After being in practice for 26 years, most frequently, people's concern, right? People's concern is to lose what's happening here. Would you guys be in agreement with me? What's devastating for people to think about, maybe if you haven't thought about, maybe I'm giving you a bad dream here, but for most people, when we get older and be a little bit wiser, and we try to be wiser, right? They're deadly afraid of early dementia. Some of you know because you have those people around you. Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson, right? All those neurodegenerative diseases, they're becoming more and more common. They're becoming more and more common. And you know that they call all of those diseases, diabetes type 3. And you know what diabetes type 3 is? What is diabetes? Diabetes is a problem with what? What's that? Sugar. Thank you. It's a problem with sugar. So diabetes type 3, what happens is when your brain is on fire continuously because you have inflammation, right? That one of the strategy, right? Or your strategy today, you don't want to wait until you have stage 4 Alzheimer because then it just like people are like, well, yeah, that didn't work. Well, of course that didn't work. When you wait at the last minute, right? It's likely that it's not going to work. But maybe right now, because you've heard it, and maybe you don't have stage 4 Alzheimer. Maybe you're not fully cuckoo yet, right? You're just a little bit. Maybe you just have a little bit of brain fog. Maybe you're just like, sometimes you're thinking of your word, or maybe your short-term memory is not as good as it used to be. Maybe you're not as sharp as you used to be, right? But you can still function. Do you understand that? Why in the world would you be waiting until you can't function when you know what needs to be done now? And it's pretty simple, right? The first thing is you want to make sure that your level of omega-3 fatty acid is high enough in your body. You got to make sure that those bad fat, you got to get them out the door. You got to make sure you start reading the label. You know how to read the label. You take the fish oil that you take is quality fish oil. That's important. You need to take enough. You need to take enough. I did not give you numbers. Okay, now Deb was taking 10 grams a day. You don't need to take 10 grams a day for most people, right? I mean, if you're a lady there, you probably can take 2,500 milligram a day. If you're a man, I would like you to take at least 4,000 milligram a day. But I'm just telling you that you have to take enough to have a therapeutic effect, to have a beneficial effect, especially if you have some sort of problems. Because if the house is on fire right now, which most of you here, probably your house is on fire already to begin with, right? I mean, I'm not saying that you have a diagnosed disease, but likely you have inflammation. Like the house is on fire and you take your little bottle of water and you just go on site and then you go. Do you think that you're going to be able to put that fire down? Yes or no? The answer is no. This is the right therapy, but there's not enough, right? So when sometimes people are like, hey, you're doing the right thing, but you're not doing enough. Does that make sense? So I want you to understand that you got to have enough. And you got to do it long enough in order to get the benefit, right? I want you to say, health is a journey. I want everybody to say, health is a journey. It's not a destination. And are you okay with that? Be okay with it's a journey. Everything you do today, tomorrow, the day after, it all counts. And start now. It doesn't matter where you're at, right? So before I answer some question, I want to leave you with this. If you've never had a nutritional evaluation, there is 2 nutritionists here. I'm one of them, and Helena is the other one. 98% of what you saw here tonight, those things that when we work with people, we work with those things to evaluate this, to change that, to address that, to detox people, to help people's mitochondria to work better, right? To optimize, getting rid of pesticides and herbicides and phthalate and all of that. We do all of that. So if you've never had your evaluation and you're considering doing this, I mean, if this is your next step and this is you go ahead. And, this young lady here in the back, her name is Liz. I had forgotten. Didn't take my fish oil yet, right? Liz, wave your hands. She's right there. This sweet lady there when you came in. She asked you for your name and where you came from and all that good stuff. She can schedule your evaluation. Usually when a person comes off the street and they come in for evaluation, we charge people $250 for the first and second day of their evaluation. First day we gather information. Second day we deliver the report. And then after that, depending what the person's goals are health-wise, then they're going to have a program that's going to be set out for them. You follow me? When people come to our class, right, if you've never had one done, is we do that for $75. And it's the same day 1 and day 2. If you've never had this done and you are considering doing this, it can be done right here at this office at Gilead Healing Center, or it can also be done at our friend or office. If you decide that you want to do this, Liz is going to be scheduling your appointment. Fair enough? Can you say yes? Some of you already on a nutrition program, you already see one of your nutritionists, either myself or Elena, and maybe there's another step for you. I promise you there's another step for all of you, right? You're never going to be done. There's always going to be something else that you can do better. And if you're already doing it, maybe you can just recommit yourself to do it better, right? This food thing is really important. We teach classes on food on a monthly basis. The reason why we do this is people want to do a lot of fancy stuff. A lot of people want to do a lot of fancy stuff today, right? They want to take this, we want to do, you want to do hormone stuff and you want to do regenerative stuff and you want to do all this stuff. But guess what? Now listen to me for a minute. And I'm going to leave you with this and then you can schedule your appointment and you can ask me questions. But all of those things that are really impressive, when you do regenerative medicine, what Dr. Nebling does here is very impressive, right? But by the time a person puts stem cells in your shoulder or they put PRP in your shoulder or they put prolotherapy in your shoulder, right, to try to help your shoulder because it's been hurting for the past 10 years. Now remember that if you don't have the raw material into your body, if you don't eat food, if you don't put the raw material, all of us here with no exception, we have the blueprint is the same. Your DNA is the same. We all have the same DNA. But when you just open up this blueprint there and you're about to build a house, you're going to decide the material that you're going to be using, right, to build this house. The material that we're using is the food that we're putting into our body. So the food that you put in your body and the food supplements that you put in, this is how you build. This is how you can put the raw material so the body can heal itself. If a person goes and they just have hormones done by a hormone therapy doctor, which I have some friends that do that, and I'm not opposed to that, but when you take hormones and you don't have the raw material, i.e. food, and using food supplements and using nutrient to build the walls, those things are not going to work as well if they're going to work at all. Right? Do you understand that? So you just got to understand how things work. So you got to have the raw material so you can build the walls. And you got to have the right raw materials. You don't want to be putting junk. That's why you don't want to go to Walmart to get your fish oil. That's stupid. Can I say this again? It's stupid. And I have no problem against Walmart. I mean, I'm probably going to go there tomorrow and buy stuff. But I will not buy fish oil. Do you understand that? They don't care about the fish oil that you buy. They just care about the sale. That's not their thing. That's not what they do. Right? There's no point for you to invest in cheap stuff that don't work. Sometimes it's because you're ignorant, you don't know better. But once you know and you keep doing it, that's stupid. So just don't do it. Save your money, go on a cruise instead. Because you're still going to die early. Right? Okay. We're ready to answer questions? Yes. So listen, Dr. Nebling here, he's our physician. He's an amazing man. He's not here tonight. But I'm telling you, he's an amazing man. And I have two kinds of people coming back to my office telling me about Dr. Nebling. Do you know what they say? 99% of the time, people are like, he's amazing. But once in a while, people say, I don't like him. And then I go on to say, well, what do you mean? Well, you didn't want to get me off my drugs. You told me drugs are bad, didn't want to get me off of it. I'm like, listen, Dr. Nebling is a smart man. You can't go to your doctor without ammunition. You want to be off your blood pressure medication. I'm going to answer your question. That was a big roundabout here. I'm getting there. You got to take it every day. And you got to work on your health plans. If you work on your health plans every day and you take your blood pressure every day and your numbers are coming down and you go see Dr. Nebling and say, Dr. Nebling, those are my numbers. It looks like it's coming down. I mean, can you help me to get off of them? What do you think he's going to say? Of course, I'm going to help you out. But if you're completely irresponsible eating cake, cookies, Skinny's ice cream, and you sit all day and you do nothing, and you take your drugs and you just feel good about it, and you're like, yeah, but now I saw the light. Dr. Junkie said drugs are bad. I want to be off of all of them. What do you think he's going to say? Why would he say yes to something that is silly? Right? You see how it makes no sense? We need ammunition. You need ammunition. Anybody that comes to me, right? I mean, I would have the same attitude. This is called a partnership. It's not a dictatorship. You have to do your part. I do my part. We're going to go on this journey here, and you're going to have to do some work. Yes or yes? That's how you do it. Get ammunition. Write it down every day. Work your plan. And you get in there, and I promise you, whomever your doctor is, you know what? They would be silly to tell you no because you're taking responsibility. And they see the numbers. Okay? Next question. Yes, there.
So I'm an older mom. I'm 43 and have a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I'm lucky enough to be perimenopausal. So
Yeah.
I'm curious now if inflammation could be a cause of that. Aside from the fact that, it's really. And I want to survive raising my kids.
So you're 43?
43. With a 3-year-old.
Yeah. At 43 years old, I mean, you're just in your prime, actually. I mean, if your body is not working the way it should, it's because you're either eating too much sugar and you're not eating enough protein and fat. I mean, there's not many reasons, right? Your focus right now, your focus should be on having protein and fat, lots of it. Like 6 eggs is only 30 grams of protein. You should have like eggs every day, lots of butter until it drips all over your face, right? I mean, that should be your lifestyle. You want to have some good oil, plenty of butter, plenty of meat, and that's how your body makes this hormonal system works. Does that make sense? So you eat what?
6 eggs every morning with lots of butter.
Yeah. Yeah, and you want to continue to do that, right? And then on the flip side of that, you also want to look the areas where what's coming in is inflammatory in nature. And then after that is like those names that the medical profession is giving to women from the time you're 12 years old and you have your first cycle and your belly hurts and you're bleeding a lot. And we're putting you on the birth control pill. And we do this for 20 years. And then you try to have a baby and then you can't because they've given you synthetic estrogen all this time. We're creating names of disease for people so we can drug them. You don't have a disease. Bodies are just like, they're simple. Bodies need to be fed. You need to move, right? You got to move well, eat well, think well. And if you violate those things, then your body is going to go through, it's not going to work right. And then you have to be on the right nutrition program to make up for what we don't have into our diet today. And there's many things that we don't have. You just go on Dr. Google or on ChatGPT and just type in, right? In nutrition science today, they do studies on the apple, organic apple 50 years ago, and now there's only half the nutrient. So even when you think you eat well, you still don't eat well. And most people don't know that, and then they give themselves diseases and they think they need drugs, right? If you're a PhD marine biologist and the fish are dying, which question do they ask? In case that you don't know, they never ask the question, what kind of drug is missing? They never ask the question, what kind of hospital we need to bring in to do surgery on the fish? They don't ask that. Why do us human beings stupid enough? We do that. When things don't work right, we're like, hey, what kind of drugs do I need? Because I must be stupid. I must have a lack of drugs in my body. Instead of saying, hey, am I toxic with something? Am I undernourished because I don't have the right nutrient for this to work? Right? Dr. Lee, back in 1929 from Standard Process, you might not know him, but you might want to study him. This guy says, hey, listen, nutrition starts with the soil, with the water, and the sunshine. Right? This is how it starts. If you don't have the proper soil, which is interesting, I was talking to the owner of Standard Process, which you might not know the company, but it's a whole food organic company that's been around since 1929. The owner of the company says to me, he says, there's 4 seeds company, main company in the country. 3 of them are owned by China, and 1 of them is owned by the pharmaceutical company. He says every seed company, they're producing seed for yield. They want to produce more per seed. And then there's very few company that, and we're one of them, is we are breeding the seed for nutrition. Okay, so for instance, and people want to argue with me, and sometimes I'm just tired, I'm just being rude, but I'm just going to tell you just a little side note. There's this thing in Standard Process, it's called Power Mix, it's like a green drink, right? And people send me their picture of green every day, and I'm like, yeah, that's junk, you should take this one instead. But why is that? But why is that? You're just like, the Dr. Jean-Guy, you're just like, you just like them better. Why do you like them better? Because you have it at your office? No, because I've been there 8 times. Because I've seen the farm. I walked the farm. I know what they do on the farm. When you open any bottle as a Standard Process, it looks bad. It smells bad. It tastes bad. It must be good for you. Because what happened is there's nutrient in there. Right? So I know you want to argue, and I welcome the argument, but you're wrong, and I'm right. Your grains are just gross, and they're just no good. But you think they're good because they taste good. Now, I don't live to be right, but there's things that I do that God's given me the talent in that I know a little bit about. And it just makes sense to me, right, that we need to eat real food. The more real food that we eat, the better we'll be, right? That's the bottom line. I got off track here, but who's my next question? This guy right here.
So I am mostly vegan and plant-based, not my choice. I have a lot of food sensitivity, so I grew up eating everything. But now my relationship with God is God lets me eat salmon once a week. And outside of that, I pretty much follow everything you're saying. But I do think only thing that I don't, the only thing that I eat that's processed are like you said, organic vegan protein shakes. How do you feel about that? Because I feel like my stomach does not like them. That's question one. And then question two, for someone who is really sensitive to things like fish oil, is MCT oil a good substitute?
Well, before I answer all those questions,
Sorry, I was lying. Are you gonna come for my diet?
so before I answer those questions, the first question I would ask you, and you don't need to answer that, is you should ask the question that I've already posed earlier today, is the question why, right? Obviously, you have gut issues. That's what needs to be addressed. So food sensitivity, there's a reason behind it, and that can be turned around. That's number one. Once you have that turnaround, then those other questions, they become not as relevant because then you would make different choices, right? So, I mean, as far as MCT oil is a medium chain fatty acid, is completely different than omega-3 fatty acid, completely different. They're not even in the same family, right? So, but again, I would challenge you to, people use MCT oil, but the question is, where do you find naturally MCT oil, right? Naturally, you find it in coconut. So, the goal would be to always go to the food first to try to get as much from the food the best you can. Like if you have full fat coconut milk, when you open it up out of the can, it looks like Crisco. I mean, it's not really sexy, but what happened is it's more like at its natural state, and you would get some of those. I'm not opposed to MCT oil. I'm just telling you that my goal is always to go to the whole the best that I can. Do I think people should eat fish? The answer is yes, but it should be wild caught the best you can. It's hard to find that today, right? Unless you go to Vital Choice and you have them like catch it today, put it in dry ice and send it to you. Most people, they have a hard time to afford that, right? To do that on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. Could that be done? Yeah, it could. But most, I would say 99% of people don't do that. Now, there is some plant-based, quote unquote, omega-3 that it's DHA. I'm not a fan of it. I'm a fan of like EPA and DHA. They come together in nature. And most of the time when people tell me they're allergic to fish, they can take fish oil, no problem. That has been my experience. When people burp fish oil, I burp my fish oil. I can't take fish oil. I'm like, that's not true. There's only one or two reasons that if you're burping fish oil, there's only one or two reasons. It's very simple. It's either you have a bad gallbladder, right? Or you're taking bad fish oil. That's it. There's no other reason on the planet. It's either you have a bad gallbladder or you're taking bad fish oil, right? Oh, Dr. Jean-Guy, I take those enterocoated oil. So it just burst open in my large intestine. I'm like, oh, you're going to take all those chemicals so it bursts in your large intestine because you're burping it. You're burping it for a reason, right? It's bad fish oil or your gallbladder is not working right. If you take 10 moms, 10 of them, 10 ladies between the age of 45 to 55, half of them don't have a gallbladder. We already know that gallbladder don't work right for a female for the most part because they're hormonally imbalanced. Why are they hormonally imbalanced? Is because you've been eating a bunch of chemicals. Because on the food that we have today, when they spray the pesticides, glyphosate, herbicides, hormones, all this stuff, it's in your food every day. So when you put it in, your body is trying to get it out, right? Remember, God doesn't do any bad things. He does good things. What he does is your liver produces the bile. The bile gets stored into the gallbladder. And when you eat bad things, the body uses the bile in your gallbladder, tags the bad stuff, and pull it out. But if it has to work 24/7, it gets tired. Do moms get tired? Yeah, they're tired. They're like those kids, they won't sleep. They're causing me all this stress. So then mom's gallbladder gets worn out. So you have hormone imbalance, and then you get nauseous. Then you can't digest food, can't digest fat, and then your life is over. I'm just kidding. Your life is not over. That can be turned around, no problem. I turn around gallbladder ladies all day long. Some people are at the hospital. They're just about to have their knife, and I just tell them, no, you can wait on that. I'll take care of you, and we can turn that around. Okay, this lady had a question right here, right at the beginning. You forgot? Yeah, that's why you need fish oil.
I didn't take it. But what is your rate on olive oil?
Olive oil, yes. Olive oil is a monounsaturated fat, so I didn't talk about this because we had 150 slides here and we'd be here until 10, but olive oil is a monounsaturated fat, just like avocado oil, right? And then you have those saturated fat like butter, like coconut oil, like red palm oil, like MCT oil. Those are saturated fat. Yes? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yep. And then you have the polyunsaturated fat. So if you eat nuts and seeds are polyunsaturated fat. That means that they have some omega-6 in there. Now, now I know that I give you omega-6 the bad reps, but you should have omega-6 in your diet. It's just that when you have all the stuff that is store-bought and all the fast food restaurant and all the trans fat from the bad oils, that's when it becomes a big problem. Yes? Okay.
Since that was real short,
You only have one more question. You're done.
you had pregnancy up there, but you didn't discuss it. So the question is, because you talk about your against medication.
Yeah.
So what about pregnant women having to take vaccine while they're pregnant and babies taking vaccines after they're born?
And what is your question? What is my take?
What is your take? Since you're saying,
What do you think my take is?
okay,
So listen, no, I don't think you should have any of that stuff put in your body ever. I have 5 kids. They were all born at home, right? They've never had nothing but a chiropractic adjustment and nutrition. Nothing. Can you say nothing?
nothing.
Nothing. No vaccine, no shot, no drug, ever. Ever. Those bodies were designed to be healthy. You started it. Now I'm going to finish it, right? Nothing. Nothing. Dr. Jean doesn't believe in any of that. Nothing. Right? Now let me just get the record straight, because I know I'm probably online and somebody's going to try to say things I didn't say. Like, listen, if you need to have an emergency, go to the emergency. I don't have any problem with that. I'm just telling you that God wants you to be healthy. You don't need 72 shots by the time you're 15 years old. You don't. You don't. None of you need 72 shots by the time you're 15. Nobody. The mother doesn't need that. The baby doesn't need that. They don't need that. Nobody needs their flu shot. Nobody needs their flu shot. Do you understand? You don't need a COVID shot. You don't need a booster shot. You don't need it. You don't. You need to take care of yourself. Right? It's silly. Now, let's talk serious here. 1 minute. Right? Those pregnancy moms. If you have moms around you that are pregnant, they need to take their fish oil. Why do they need to take their fish oil when you're pregnant? It's because, right? It's because it's going to make the baby smarter. Now, some of you, you might not want that from your kids to be outsmart you, but I'm telling you that when they do studies on kids, when you give them DHA while you're pregnant, that their IQ is going to be higher because of it. Right?
So you're saying if a pregnant woman takes fish oil, that won't cause the baby to slip down faster?
Not sure what you mean by slip down. I'll answer one more question here on this side here, and then I'm out of here. Go ahead there.
Actually, it's kind of three-pronged.
I'll answer yours too.
Fish oil. What
Yes.
do you recommend with regard to brands of fish oil? What's considered good?
The brands that I have, for sure, in my office.
Okay.
So listen, here's the truth. People ask me about brand. I cannot tell you because I've only investigated the ones that I have in my office. I use 4 different kinds in my office. Why do I use 4 different kinds? Is because sometimes the EPA and DHA, if I have a person that have mental health, i.e. depression, that kind of thing, pregnancy, I use different types of fish oil on them versus others. So the one that I have investigated in depth is the one I have in my office. When people send me their fish oil, many times what I told you tonight, pharmaceutical grade intermolecular distal and triglyceride backbone, you have to call the company. You have to investigate them.
Gotcha.
Unless you do that, many times you would not know. Okay? So was that all the 3 prong?
Where can you obtain clean meat?
Clean meat, farmer's market. If you go there, the one at the Marion Township is probably the biggest one we have. And then at our office on our board, we also have people that are, that put their stuff and tell you where you can buy it.
Lastly, have you heard about the carnivore diet and are you in favor?
Sure. I'm in favor. I think anybody going on any diet, Dr. Jean-Guy's not a fan of a diet. The reason why I'm not a fan of a diet is who wants to be on a diet here? Raise your hand. Okay. Nobody wants to be on a diet. I mean, if you do, usually you haven't thought of it for very long. Okay. What you need to be on is you need to be on a lifestyle, right? So you need to eat more food. So on a carnivore diet, if you start that tomorrow and you're on this for the next 90 days, you're going to be doing amazing. You're going to lose a lot of weight. You're going to feel better. You're going to have all those good things happening to you. Why is that? Because you stop eating sugar. Anybody in here stop eating sugar, they're going to feel better. It doesn't matter if you're on a ketogenic diet, the paleo diet, the mom's diet, the 40-day diet, the 30-day diet. If you eat food, you're going to be better and you're going to lose weight. Right? You follow me? I haven't seen and I haven't studied and seen enough to tell you that people can be on a carnivore diet forever. Right? And what it does to them. Unless they would be in an environment that all they have access to in the world is animal meat, and they've been in that kind of environment for decades and generation. Right? Do you follow me? Okay. Last question right here, and then I'll let you go.
You know how you say like metals and toxins aren't good for your body, but then I see those detoxing slapped on the bottom of your feet that they work. I mean, it says it draws out metals and you've seen those, right? They're junk, right? That's what I'm asking.
I mean, before I say that, because I don't know who exactly, right? There's a lot of reels these days. I don't get to watch all the reels. But being a critical thinker today, right? You guys are smart people. I see you as being just as smart as I am. And you're thinking when you see stuff and you should investigate. What does that mean? You need to go look at the company. You need to go look how long have they been around? What's the people that work with them? What's their technology? Has it been researched? Right? Those are all questions that most of the time people don't ask because they don't know any better. And then within the world of research, there's a gap there between the clinical portion and the research portion. Right? If you're in the research world, you understand that a little bit, but don't want to spend much time on that. I'm just telling you that there's a lot that needs to be investigated when company makes some claim, but yet, some companies, they make claim they have no research behind their claim. So, slapping a patch underneath my foot and telling me that I'm going to be squeaky clean, I doubt it. Okay? But there's things that have been around for a long time that have been tested for a long time. Right? Dr. Jean-Guy here, if you've known me for a long time, which you probably haven't, I've been telling people for 20 years to take fish oil and vitamin D, okay? And I still haven't changed my mind. So you can pretty stand on that and be like, hey, this is probably a pretty solid advice if I'm not doing this right now. Right? You see what I'm saying? The truth doesn't change. When people change their mind every day and they have the new thing of the day, you should just probably question that. I'm not telling you that some of the new things might not be good. I'm just telling you that there's many things that are new, and they're new because people market, people sales, people want to make money, and I have no problem with making money. I have problems with, making money when you don't have the clinical behind it of helping people and having your heart at the right place. As a company, whatever you do, to me, that's a problem. Right? And today, of course, everybody wants to, they want to make it. They have the best thing of the best thing, but, what supports that? Sometimes lay people with food, with supplements, with herbals, if you don't ask the right question, you won't have the right answer, and you're not going to know. Like, for instance, if you were to do some echinacea, people come to the office, they're like, yeah, I take echinacea, and it just doesn't work. I'm like, what doesn't work is you don't work. You're not smart enough. When you take echinacea, if it's pure, if it has the same phytoequivalency of what you have in the medical research, and when they do the research, is when you take echinacea, your mouth should be numb for minutes. If your mouth is not numb when you take the echinacea, you're taking crap and they got you. They got you? They, T-H-E. What? Echinacea? I don't know how to spell it.
But just give me I can find it out.
It's E-C-H-I-N-E-S-E-A. Okay. I don't know why you guys are still here. It's 8 o'clock. I've been here for 2 hours.
Can I see a slide?
I don't know. I don't have the slide. This lady that has all the slide. You can go take a picture there behind the desk. What's the slide you need?
The one that say summary, that summary one, I missed.
Come on.
What about beef organs?
About what? Good to see you.
It said knee
Say that again.
beef organ supplements.
Beef organ? I'm not opposed to it as long as they're clean.